right, welcome one, welcome all. Apologies for the technical difficulties with our intro video, but here we are in the wonderful Zandvoort in the Netherlands for round 5 of our Simufur Am Championship series. So we're coming around in the last few minutes of free practice here as we're just following along with Bolly Grant trying to finish up one of their final laps. But we're in for an exciting race here as we jump into one of the tightest tracks of our calendar. We're closing off this season with a Zandvoort and a Brands Hatch, two of the smallest tracks on the ACC agenda and the two smallest tracks on our calendar. So this is going to be a really tough one for our drivers coming in. But I am Jordan Johnson, or Plasmaraider. I will be your commentator tonight to take you through the action as we jump straight into things. And the first thing that you might notice is going to be Chloe taking the top of the standings after a struggle coming into Silverstone, and that's going to be the exact thing that they are going to be looking for coming into Zandvoort. They lost a bit of momentum in Silverstone, had a really tough race, but also Denak a little bit out of position in P4 as they run into practice. Now, it is worth noting that this is just practice. Fuel loads might differ. They might be seeing drivers on just race simulation runs and other drivers on qualifying simulation, but things do look promising to give us a exciting championship finale and also a penultimate round here at Circuit Zandvoort. Additionally, you'll see the return of Randomie and Wile E. Coyote up at the front. Randomie, a member that is celebrating a birthday today, so thank you very much for spending it with us, Randomie. Happy birthday to you, and we hope to see you up in the podium, maybe even a P1 coming into the end of this race. We'll switch in. We have a couple other drivers. Czar filling out the top 5, followed by Guy, Jasper, Wolfen, JPEG, and Fane also filling out the top 10. As we're going to follow on board for one of the final laps with the Lamborghini GT3 of Wile E. Coyote coming in. We're gonna get a real good look at just how short of a straight this is. This is gonna be one of the main overtaking opportunities as we come into turn 1. Nice big send on the inside. It's gonna be hard to defend for our drivers, but that's gonna be the main site of action on our track today. Additionally, coming into turn 3 here, you have the tricky right-hand kink that might be opening things up coming into 4. You could see an opportunity to get slung up the inside, and then going to be a winding straight. Probably not a lot of side-by-side action, but this is going to be a section that is going to really test the drivers, because one small mistake clipping those curbs, and that could be into the barriers too. And very tight as we see the car wiggling on entry coming into the long right-hander here, turn 7. And Wile E. Coyote then having to flick it hard right, what feels like a never-ending corner into the late apex immediately after. 3 of the toughest corners on the track to get right, and certainly going to be a part of the track where drivers are going to struggle to try to put things together. Wile E. Coyote now coming up to what is likely going to be our final overtaking zone of the track as we come into the hairpin. This is going to be a very aggressive area of the track if we have drivers that are able to make it happen into 11 and 12, but it is an area of the track nonetheless that we might see a move get sent. The Wile E. Coyote coming in to finish the session as the checkered flag is going to be flown. Looks like the 63 is going to be the last car to set a valid lap, I do believe so. That's going to be our practice session over, and yes, that's exactly what it is. So,
green light.
We're going to head straight on over to qualifying, and this is going to be where the times actually matter. We talked about how those times earlier on were going to be representative of the drivers that were out on track, but this is where it really does matter. Denak does appear to be the first one out on track after being unable to take the top of practice. But we're going to see the Tig Gang Racing lead driver right now lead the pack away. And the most important thing really about Zandvoort here is that front left tire is going to be absolutely punished. So you need to make sure that you're driving underneath the limit. Making sure you take care of those tires. You can scrub those tires in, overheat them just a little bit too much, and once they start overheating here, you're not going to get the temperature out of them. It's a very demanding track for mechanical grip, a lot of low speed, long corners. So you need to be really conscious of that tire management, and that's going to be the key to winning today. And certainly many of these drivers coming out in the qualifying, that's even going to be what they need to focus on now, because as you get those tires up to temperature, you need to make sure you get them in the perfect window. If you miss that window, then you're going to be struggling for the rest of qualifying. You're either going to be better off coming in, or you need to take a slow lap and let those tires calm down a little bit. Even then, you might have bled a little bit of performance out of them that you would have been wishing that you had before. But as we jump into things, it is again going to be Denak leading us away as we run in for a qualifying lap with the Tig Gang Racing driver, our championship leader, as we run down into turn 1 for the first time in anger, as we're going to be hard on the brakes, very deep into the corner, getting it nice and tight, try to tighten it up on the apex, a little bit wide, but able to get the power down. Now it's going to be through 2 and 3, trying to get the tightest line possible to really open up turn 4 here, turn 3 here, trying to get all the ways around, get the power down as efficiently as possible. It seems Denak's able to do exactly that. We're going to be running down a little bit too much curve. We talked about that in practice, but Denak able to keep it going. It might only be a tenth of time, but it's going to be right here, very committed, throwing it in turn 7. Rear end moving around and just trying to spin the car into that outside gravel trap. Then hard into the first right of 8. Then setting the car up very wide late for 9. Well put together for Denak. This could be a strong lap for them. We come around into the first left of 10. This is where we're going to see a lot of drivers struggling late in the race. But Denak able to squeeze that throttle quite nicely, keep the rear nice and in line, as it's now going to be one more hard braking zone of 11 and 12. You can get it all the way set up over the curb, a little bit timid over the first curbing, but able to set the car up nicely for the exit of 12. It's going to be 13. This is going to be the last real corner of the track. Just tip it in. Don't bleed off a lot of speed. Get that power down. It seems Denak's done exactly that. And coming across the line, Denak seems to struggle a little bit with getting that front end turned into the corner. But for the first lap of the session, that is going to be a 1 minute 37. That is the benchmark to beat for the rest of the grid, followed by Wolf and Foxtail. And when we have Geeg and Chloe Grant able to set follow-up times, Chloe, the closest one yet, is with a 1 minute 37.3. The next driver across the line is going to be Ruby Kitsune in that McLaren. And are they able to match it? It's going to be a 1 minute 42.9. So taking a little bit of time to get those tires up, the temperature, get them in. Followed up by Pablo JPEG, a couple of the drivers popping in. Pablo able to jump up with a 1 minute 39.9. So drivers just getting in the rhythm of things. Got a little bit to learn as these drivers start to try to sort things out. Yep, ZZ coming across the line with a 1 minute 40.9. So once again, just getting everyone into the rhythm of things, starting to get things flowing, getting these cars across the line for the first time. And here's the birthday boy himself, and it's going to be Randomly. This is going to be the driver that is likely going to challenge the most next to Chloe, and they're going to jump up with a 1 minute 37.9. So the times are on the table, and it's going to be a matter of who can improve the most next. And a driver that is improving, speaking of, is going to be Wolf and Foxtail, who's already up by 5 tenths coming into 11 and 12. And this is a big improvement, 7 tenths, 8 tenths, as they are just chewing away some time coming through the final section. And again, set the car up, don't need to slow it down too much, get it tipped in, and we're going to be up by 9 tenths of a second. But a bad exit, maybe a little bit weak on that apex, is going to cost the Bluey McLaren driver a little bit of time. But following them also on a big improvement is going to be Geeg. So we're going to be seeing these drivers stepping way up the grid. 1 minute 38.3 for Wolfen, and it's going to be a 1 minute 37.4 for Geeg. So now that time is looking in danger for Denak. Denak is going to be needing to step it up, but their teammate, Randomly, up by 1 second. They are only 9 tenths off of Denak's time, and they still have half a lap to go. We're coming into 11 and 12, and it's going to be continuing to set the trend. Well put together by Randomly, still keeping that 1 second margin. Coming into turn 13, just tip it in one more time, just settle it down, and all you need to do is squeeze that throttle. And it looks like Randomly might have the exit But is the time going to be there? This is just going to be the final straight. Just watching that timing screen, your eyes are glued on that delta. And randomly, yes, with the new fastest time of the session, a 1 minute 36.8. And now we check in with Czar, who's been improving, but has it been enough? And no, it's going to be a 1 minute 37.1. Not enough for the RK9 Aston Martin. So once again, needing to come back around for another lap. As we jump in with the next group of cars, Telephone's up by 0.2 of a second already, and this is just through the first sector. So are they going to be able to improve yet again as we come through the back section of the track going into 10? It's going to be really hard for that Porsche to get into the corner, a little bit wide, but able to get the traction out quite fine, it seems. Some Telephones might be able to salvage some of this here. It's going to be all about the brakes here into 11 and 12, though. This is where the Porsche really excels. And it seems, yes, well put together. Telephone's nice, able to hog the inside of the curve of 12, able to get a good run out. So it's going to be all about 13 here. Ooh, a little bit early. That Porsche seemed very strong on turning, maybe a little bit more than what Telephones wanted, but it looks like the run is still going to be coming out. It's going to be a good run coming out for Telephones, and does look like it's going to be improvement, but how much? Enough for P9 right now. A good improvement nonetheless, but yet again, the improvement coming in from Wolfen. One sector into the track, and we're already up by 0.3 again. A 1 minute, or sorry, not a 1 minute, a 32.5 coming in from the Bluey McLaren right now. But this could be very, very important coming into this section of the track. It's going to be all about traction. Once again, that McLaren quite strong on traction. So we need to be paying attention to that brake marker coming into 11-12. This is where McLaren's going to be fighting this Bluey driver the most. Looks like a little bit timid, but able to, oh no, a little bit wide. That's going to be costing the McLaren a ton of time. That's not going to be exactly the opposite of what Wolfen is looking for. They need to make up the time here in the final two corners. It looks like it was well put together, but is it going to be an improvement? That is the important part of this. And no, it is not going to be an improvement at all. That is unfortunate, but the Bluey McLaren trying to go around for another lap as we saw Chloe dive into the pits. But the story of the race right now, or the story of qualifying now, Denak trying to make a recovery to take their pole position back, and we are looking at an improvement. It looks like possible purple sector from Denak coming into this lap. So this is going to be the move it or lose it lap coming in, but it's going to be whether or not Denak can piece this rest of this lap together. We tip it in a rear end, squirming around a little bit. Denak able to keep it rolling, and now it's going to be the inside 9. Able to pull it together, now open it up all the ways for 10. Denak getting wide and nice, setting up that exit. But picking up a little bit of mid-quarter understeer there. That could cost the Tig Gang Racing driver. That could be really unfortunate. That's time that needs to be gained back. So it's going to be hard under the brakes into 11. Open up 12 and sweep across to this late apex. Squeeze that power down like it's an egg under your foot. And now it's going to be all about that final corner. Is Denak going to be able to get that run to the line that they so desperately need? Oh, it's a little bit of curb, and no, that's going to certainly cause an end to that lap and possibly even damage the next. So we have to jump on board, and Jasper looking like they're improving as well coming into the first sector of this lap. That's going to be super big. That Denak ending up costing themselves that lap through qualifying, is that's going to be killing any momentum that they have coming into this second half of qualifying. We have 9 minutes left to go, but we have plenty of attempts for qualifying to go through. And again, Jasper looking for an improvement, but they haven't been able to piece together the momentum quite as well as the first sector. Perhaps maybe bleeding a little bit too much of the front grip out of those tires. And that's going to be really unfortunate coming into the braking zone of 11. You need to really lean on the grip of those fronts. And if those aren't there, that's just going to be hemorrhaging time. Looks like maybe able to take, yes, very aggressive on the curb with the McLaren, taking everything they can. Is it going to be the time that they need, though? Only a little bit of time to find out as we tip into 13. And it's going to Jasper just trying to piece together the run out of the final corner. Looks like they're able to gain a little bit of time back. Is it going to be? No, it is not going to be an improvement for the bluey McLaren with that orange accenting, but it looks like we might be seeing another improvement from Wolf and able to recover that second lap and get another improvement on the cards. And one more time, just into 13, just need to get the final run here. And this is what Joe's drivers are going to be loathing. They know that they're up on time, but do you keep pushing or do you just accept that small improvement? Because if you just settle down, someone else might snipe your time by the end if you just take that small improvement. Looks like Wolfen was able to improve to a 1 minute 38.2, but not enough to get into a new position on the grid. Now we're going to be jumping back with our current qualifying leader coming into the final 8 minutes of our qualifying here. Randomly, with just 2 corners to go, it does look like they're on an improvement. As we take a look at our timing tables, the gaps seeming quite similar for most everyone. 1/10, 2/10, 4/10 between, or less than 500ths or thousandths of a second between Wiley Coyote and Chloe, who are in 4th and 5th. And yes, it's going to be a big improvement for Randomy. 0.3 of a second into a 1 minute 36.5. That's going to be a massive improvement for the TIG Gang driver, and they're going to be super ecstatic with that lap. But that needs to stand the test of time against Denak, who has been leading this championship for every single race that we have come through. After a little bit of a fumble into the first race, they're now trying to take a commanding final section of this championship. And it is worth mentioning that this could be the championship decider for Denak if they're able to get enough of a gap between the drivers behind them. But first, they need to make a gap between them and P1, as it looks like a little bit of time has been lost through that second sector, and Denak's really going to have to stretch to try to make a little bit of that time up. But coming through 11 and 12, put together quite nicely, and that's going to be a big gang for the TIG Gang. And can they just piece it together, keeping it on the limit and really trying to drive it out? Are we going to see a big enough improvement? Certainly there's going to be one, but is it enough? It is not. It's a small improvement for Denak. Only a few hundredths of time to be found there, and that's going to be... Oh, they're going to be punching themselves because it was just that final few corners that cost them as well. But jumping in with JPEG here, we're seeing another big improvement for the Porsche, the number 12. And certainly with half a lap to go, they're going to be looking to jump on that. But I think traffic is possibly holding them up here. But unfortunately, it looks like, yes, they have aborted their lap, judging by our timing screens. Jumping back in with one more time, we have Czar on a massive improvement for them. It's going to be already 2/10 up in the first sectors, or the first sector and a half. But is it going to be enough as we roll through turn 10? There's Aston Martin, going to be a car that's going to be very strong in that front end grip, and it's going to be coming into 11 and 12, trying to make use of that jack of all trades characteristic that it has as we roll in, taking a healthy amount of curb, opening up the turn in 412, able to get a decent bit of power down. So now it's just going to be all about getting that last little squeeze. Is the dirty air from ZZ affecting them at all, or is it just the draft that's helping them gain? As it looks like it was a little bit wide coming through turn 13, and that can hurt them. But is this going to be the improvement that Czar needs? And yes, Czar pumping in a 1 minute 36.8 with a little bit of help coming in from ZZ, and it looks like they're going to concede with that. Going to maybe reset the car, try to get another single lap flyer in, but the driver on a flyer right now, as well as Wiley Coyote, as they come through turn 10 on that run to 11 and 12. Have we seen several times before, and it's going to be an improvement for the Lamborghini driver, if they're able to piece it together in this final section, a little bit too deep on the brakes, but able to bring it back together and divvy up 12 nice and well, but the push is on. Now it's going to be turn 13. Throw it in with a lot of commitment, and that is everything that Wiley has in turn 13 is the run there, though. This is going to be an improvement. How much? And maybe not after that wide run for Wile E. Coyote. It's going to be an improvement, but only by half a tenth. They throw away that advantage they got earlier in the lap. But Chloe, first sector already 3.5 tenths up as we're going to jump in with the Mercedes-Benz driver as we run through the S section, coming into turn 7, tipping it in, the rear end squirming around as we watch them chop at the wheel to try to keep it in line, then set it up hard left and open it up for the right of 8, and then wide for the understeering, hard right of 9, always a bit later than you think, able to get it tipped in, and this could be the lap for Chloe. It's going to be tucking it in nice and tight for 10, really trying to focus on getting that traction early, not optimizing the speed, but they're just trying to get the shortest line with that Mercedes and all that front end grip. As we come into 11 and 12, it's going to be hard onto the brakes. A little bit wide of the curb, but able to get it back for 12, setting it up, getting that traction down. It looks like Chloe able to get it, and now just throw it in, chuck it for the final run of 13 and drive it out. Very committed. You see the wheel moving all from side to side, but is it going to be enough for Chloe as we come through that chopping at the end? A little bit of unsettle in the car might have cost them, but it's going to be 1 minute 36.5 or 36.65. That little bit of instability at the end of the lap might have cost them, but Geeg also trying to improve. If we see the track really coming in, these drivers improving massively at the end of this session. Geeg up another 0.2 of a second on their lap. Are they going to be able to try to put it in? We see the commitment coming in from the Aston Martin as its nose dives to the ground through turn 7 and throwing it again to the left. Open up for the right as we have a car maybe going backwards. Ooh, I think that might have been a connection issue. Thankfully, I believe Geeg not affected by it. It looks like they may have aborted their lap due to that. Oh, unfortunately, might be killing our lap on that one. But another driver we have improving is, again, early on in the lap. JPEG, 0.4 up, and it looks like many of these drivers, if you get your improvement in the first sector, you're really going to be opening up. Oh, JPEG a little bit wide and coming back in. Looks like the rear just snapped around on the number 12 Porsche. I believe that's exactly what it was. Probably just a little bit of rear loss of traction. Yes, and then just unable to get it back in line. The car just going wide into that gravel trap. That's going to be hurting their qualifying massively. So just trying to get things back together. We're going back down the grid. See Jinfolf on a big improvement once again early on in the lap. Just trying to get a little bit more time out. They're up by 0.6 of a second early on in this lap. Make that 6.5 as Jinfolf is on a flyer rate now, trying to piece together this final bit of qualifying as we've seen many of these drivers just trying to get in for one final lap. Well, Jin's final lap, oh, a little bit wide coming through, still up on their time, but are they going to be able to salvage the improvements that they've had? Going to be very tight as he come in. Also another driver on improvement, Hubble in that BMW, the Munich machine, trying to get the big improvement of qualifying. This could be what sets them up another couple positions on the grid. 13 tipping it in. Gonna be super important, trying to squeeze it down. That BMW tends to struggle a little bit on traction, but it looks like Hubble able to place it down masterfully as we're gonna be on that final run down the straight. Is Hubble able to improve? Yes, a 1 minute 40.4, big improvement for them, but not enough. And no, Jinfolf wide and into the wall. Unfortunately, going to end their qualifying as well, as it looks like maybe only one driver left. But their sectors are maybe a little bit too slow for an improvement. But Wile E. Coyote just trying to get one more flyer in. Looks like maybe able to gain a little bit of time in the middle sector, but I think they accepted it might be a little bit too little too late. Only a couple corners to go that you can gain time on, so they're going to concede that as well. So, going to be a chaotic qualifying, to say the least. But also, randomly taking pole position with a 1 minute 36.5 in the Storia qualifying. Denak 4.5 tenths off of the pace. Is that going to be represented for the race in Zandvoort? One of the most important parts of this track is going to be qualifying. So extremely important that randomly got that pole position, as that's going to pay massive dividends for them coming through this event. Chloe is only 600ths off as well, so we might see a titanic battle coming between those two. And that's seriously a battle that I cannot wait for. But we're going to see also a couple manufacturers actually seeming to have grouped themselves completely based off of their own class. So we're looking at the McLarens, the Porsches, BMWs. All of them seem to be grouped together, all on their own doing. So that's going to be massive actually for the rest of this session actually. Oh boy, that's gonna be rather interesting. Are we gonna see the manufacturers work together, or are we going to see these drivers come in multiple classes? Maybe we're gonna see some really tight battling. I could see it either way. I could see it being these cars are going to work together and try to funnel through, maybe get past some of those Aston Martins, or we might see a little bit of equal machinery battles. But as we look at those sectors, like randomly, not even setting all purple sectors, actually getting beaten out by Chloe on the first two by quite a significant margin. So this might be a battle of ebb and flow, who's going to be able to put those laps together, and certainly going to be a race of attrition by the time that we come through here. We have 2 minutes, 45 seconds to go before we start this pace lap. And I just want to bring a couple things up. So jumping through, we wanted to take a look at our points, if I am not mistaken. This, again, could be a race that Denak can run away with the championship. So we're going to be looking at Denak. If they're able to open... or the only real way that we're going to see Denak not taking this championship is going to be if Randomy or Zar take this win and Denak finishes out of position. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Denak and P4, that could be extremely dangerous. They're going to be starting on the outside coming into turn one. Randomy with the best opportunity to take that win and close the gap. We're going to be looking at those two religiously throughout this race, as that's going to really be the story of this event. But certainly, as we count on down, we're going to take one final look through our grid. It's going to be, again, Randomy on pole coming into this race, as I can try to get the right thing. Randomy on pole, followed by Chloe in the Olympus Mercedes, followed by the first RK9 Aston Martin and Zar. And then the second Tig Gang racing driver, again, Denak, out of position in P4. P5, Wile E. Coyote or Astros, you might know them. And they're just going to be starting a little bit further down than they might have liked. A little bit of a scrappy qualifying for them, so watch for them to try to take a run through the field. Geeg, someone that's thrown pace, shown a little bit of pace coming through that qualifying. Going to be another driver to watch to be storming up to the front of this grid. And then we have British galore, followed up with Jasper Emblem with the lead. Louis McLaren, followed up by Wolf and Foxdale, filling out row 4. All Louis row 4, going to be a race of tactics for them, followed up by Pablo and the third McLaren of the race, filling in that P9 spot. And then the second Aston Martin, sponsored or run by RK9 of Fane Yoshizima, going to be filling out row 5. And again, 5 cars from the British marks going to be filling out the rest of the top 5. Then we have Germany's pride and joy in Porsche, filling out 11th and 12th with ZZ and Telephones. Then JPEG and Neo filling out row 7 in 13th and 14th. Jinfolth and Hubble are going to be filling out row 8 with those BMWs, followed by Ruby Kitsune, and then Slowbird filling in with that Jag, the old machine, trying to give some representation followed by our wonderful, wonderful safety car, who is making sure that all of these drivers have a little bit of safety in this race. And if things go rough, especially on a track like Zandvoort, like we might see, we might have to get a second appearance from them. And that car is going to be driven by Spitzer. Thank you very much to our steward volunteering that duty. But we're going to see the drivers starting to prepare. Randomly, for believe the first time this season, going to be leading away the grid. That number 73 Ferrari looking tame as can be as we roll through these lower speeds, and Zandvoort a short lap. So it's not a lot of time to get these tires up to temperature. You're going to see a little bit of weaving, maybe a little bit of brake dragging and pumping to try to get the heat into those tires. As you try to get the heat into the brakes, let that dissipate into the tires from there. That's going to be the most important way to start off this race strong. When all these cars are going to be grouped together, you want every advantage that you can take. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at a possible damage to your race if you fall down 3-4 positions and have to recover that on a track like Zandvoort, where it's going to be extremely hard to try to get any kind of positions back. So keep an eye out. This first lap certainly going to be a chaotic one. Don't want to miss it for anything else. It's going to be halfway through. Certainly these drivers trying to get that last little bit of heat. It looks like they're going to be pushing a little bit hard to get that temperature into their tires. That Ferrari, and as we talked about at the start of the season, doesn't work those tires as hard. So needing to work a little bit harder to try to get those tires up to temperature. We're going to be keeping eyes out on that as we roll into here. Randomly, with only one more real straight to go before we're going to be forming up. And their mirrors are going to be filled with the rear end of a Mercedes, their teammates Ferrari and Aston Martin, and the entire Simufur grid trying to chase down this P1 position. And as we see, the drivers are going to be coming line astern, and here we go. As our grid forms up for one more time, we see the RK9 Aston Martin of Czar pumping those brakes just a little bit more, trying to get the run out. We're trying to get those tires into that window for one final time as we're going to be rolling coming out of this final corner. Turn 14, certainly lasting forever for these drivers as we set up a grid with roaring V8s, V6s, and everything in between. Going to be setting up as the lights are going to be illuminated red to hold these drivers steady as they trundle down there. You're going to be only watching your speed limit and those lights as we get set and ready to go. The drivers ticking through up to the line, and we are green, and it's going to be a good launch for Denak, but nowhere to go as that Olympus Mercedes blocking the way as we come into turn 1. It's going to be Chloe tucking up nice and tight to the Ferrari. Denak trying to squeeze their nose through, moving up to P3, and that's going to be big for the championship implications. Looks like everyone else able to get through nice and clean as Chloe a little bit wide coming through, and Denak maybe trying to take advantage of that, but going to be getting squeezed out. Yep, nowhere to go for that Ferrari, but the spaces left as they might have a better run. But no, Chloe able to clean things up and keep the Mercedes behind them. And it's going to be opening up as we're going to be falling down to the rest of the grid. It looks like maybe some yellow flags. Looks like everyone able to get themselves cleared. Oh no, Czar's going to be gone wide in 7. That's going to be massive for their attempt to try to bring back this championship as they're going to fall to the tail end of the grid. Looks like they're dropped all the ways down to P14, maybe P13. That's going to be awful for the long-term implications of their race. But jumping back up to the front, it looks like Chloe's able to get back up to the rear end of that Ferrari. Remember that Ferrari struggling in the early stints of the race, and this Mercedes right up on the rear of them with those warm tires. And it looks like Denak with a big dive coming into 10, but the gap's not going to be there for 11 as they get shown the outside. And Chloe trying to get the drive away now. Needed time. Run straight back up to the rear end of Ranami, but they're going to be looking right over their shoulder because it's going to be the Ferrari of the second Tig Gang racing car coming through 14 in the straight, watching, making sure they're not closing. It looks like the Mercedes has their grunt with that 6.3 liter V8, able to get the run out And yes, it's exactly what it's going to be. They're going to be nice and safe as we roll through. It's going to be P1 Randomie followed by Chloe, Denak, Wiley, and Geeg at the end of your first lap, able to bring things together. But we're going to be seeing a battle between Pablo and Wolfen trying to take that P9 and P8 position. Wolfen able to sneak their way back ahead of Pablo, who certainly got ahead of them earlier in the race. But also back in the grid, we have Zar trying to make another move back up through the order, trying to pressure that rear wing of the neon green KMA BMW. It's going to be into the looking around. Turn 7, Zar taking it a little bit timid, just trying to smooth things out where they were off track this time last lap. And it looks like they're going to be able to clean things up. It looks like it's going to be nice and tight to the rear wing of that BMW. Zar trying to find some kind of gap as we roll through. Is it going to be around the outside of 10? This is going to be a daring move if they can make it work. But looks like the grip is not there. Ambition before adhesion, if Brundle would say. But maybe a move coming down into 11. Zar appears to have the energy to come through. And it's going to be hard on the brakes between the RK9. Oh, a little bit deep for the Jaguar behind. But it looks like Zar able to get around the outside of Jinful and up the order. They're going to be able to move. It's going to be the next in line. Wile E. Coyote also still now trying to put pressure onto Denak, followed behind as well. We have ZZ trying to chase down Pablo, and that Porsche is going to be one of the stronger tracks for that machine. Not a lot of top end that it has to exert. It's certainly going to be strong in those long sweeping corners. As hard on the brakes into 1 we go. Pablo is being followed up by the Stuttgart badge Porsche, and we're going to be watching coming through 2 and 3. ZZ almost pushing Pablo through, and coming through 3, we're going to be settling down a little bit more, just trying to get that exit coming out. Looks like ZZ not able to make anything happen right now. They're going to be jumping straight back up to the lead as Chloe's now starting to get a little bit of momentum to close up on the Randomie. They're up on their best lap, trying to push in here. The Ferraris are starting to get their tires in. The Mercedes needs to start making a move in the near future. Otherwise, that dirty air is going to absolutely trash the front tires of that front engine machine. And those Ferraris are going to have a massive advantage, being able to use the mid-engine layout to their advantage. It looks like Chloe going a little bit deep on the brakes as we come into turn 11 and 12. They want to be trying to get a good exit out here. And now we're going to see the Mercedes coming through 13, trying to stretch its legs just a little bit more. And is that GT3 Mercedes able to push itself a little bit closer? Looks like that Ferrari is just starting to get in the groove, just starting to walk away a little bit. This could be massive, but in cooking as well. It looks like Wolfen has been overtaken by Pablo, actually. Pablo is able to sneak on by, and now Wolfen needs to be looking in the rearview mirror because it's going to be ZZ trying to make a dive, but no, looks like the McLaren able to walk away just a little bit more, unable to make a move. But Pablo up in that P8 position, able to inherit that as we come through, and ZZ now with 2 McLarens in its immediate eyesight, just trying to find a way past. It's not going to be easy for that the black and yellow Porsche. That top end speed is really going to let it down. So it's going to be a daring move underneath the brakes. We see 1, 2, 3, Pablo, Wolf, and ZZ, and followed behind them, that is Zar, who we saw starting P3, trying to carve their way through. So this could be a gaggle to watch right now, as we have 4 drivers, all with very different speeds, and all in a very tight group, as you could throw a blanket over the 3 of them, or the 4 of them, just trying to make their way through this, as ZZ is going to get looked at by Zar. Zar trying to go around the outside, get that momentum as they did before, maybe look for a move around the outside of 11, as we're going to be taking a watch. It's going to be all 3. ZZ trying to defend. It looks like it's going to be, yes, Zar's going to be biding their time as we come into 11. ZZ's just trying to get a little bit closer to the rear wing of Wolfen, as it looks like they're able to close up just a little bit more as they get closer. It's going to be the McLaren maybe losing a little bit of momentum, but ZZ's wide, and it's going to be Zar trying to take the inside, and this is going to be an easy move for Zar, and they're going to be waving goodbye, just trying to carry that momentum, lose as little time as possible as we make the run down to turn 1 once again. That time needs to be regained. Zar maybe losing a couple tenths trying to avoid, but now Pablo, the cork in the bottle, has moved up to Fane, as now Fane is going to be looking behind at 3 British marks. Oh, it's Pablo now a little bit wide, going wide into 3, wolfing through, Zar through as well, and a big mistake from Pablo, but able to keep it out of the wall, and certainly going to be kicking themselves, and they're just trying to fill out another race, as now Wolfen, the driver, that is going to be pressuring Fane, and Fane's going to breathe a small sigh of relief because that is going to be opening up about a second gap, so that way the RK9 Aston Martin can get a little breathing room, but a little bit of a wiggle is going to mean that McLaren's closing right up to the rear end, and immediately behind the rear end of that bluey McLaren, we have RK9 Azar, and that's going to be looking for the over-under, but Wolfen able to block that off, and Zar taking to the inside, coming into 10. It's going to be the inside for Zar, just hooking it through. Wolfen seeming to let them by just a little bit, perhaps waiting and biding their time, letting them take the fight to Fane, but the fight is going to be Chloe taking it to Randomly, let a little bit wide, losing a little bit of momentum under the straight. The only place you don't want to be losing that as we make that run into turn 1 yet again, and jump back through. Slowbird putting the pressure on the telephones. The old outdated Jaguar not showing its age here, as that Porsche is under heavy pressure, and it's going to be going a little bit wide. Slowbird taking the inside. Is JPEG going to try to follow them through? Maybe try to sneak their nose in, and no, there's contact between the two of them. No, and JPEG and telephones coming together. That's going to be a massive hit for the two of them. As we come through, falling through, we see Slowbird dive to the inside as JPEG trying to sneak through. Telephones, oh, just shutting the door a little bit too late. I'm not too sure what our stewards will think of that, as JPEG might have had a nose in, but that's going to be really close between the two of them. Looks like no damage for JPEG. His telephones has dropped back down to P17 by now, but Chloe getting that momentum back all the ways up to 4 tenths again after dropping to 8 tenths with their mistake, and they are pushing the Tig Gang Ferrari through turn 10 as a big slide coming through for that orange Ferrari is going to be the look to the outside of turn 11. Is this going to be the dive that Chloe has? It's going to be deep on the brakes for Randomly, able to hug the inside of that hairpin. Chloe trying to get the inside of 12, a little bit wide for Randomly, so this could be the momentum into 13 that Chloe needs. Unable to get that Ferrari to move to the inside. All about following nice and tight through here. The draft is going to drag you back in, and can you get tight enough to get the move through here? It's going to be 4 tenths separating them, but is the run close enough? Looks like that Mercedes just a little bit too far away to make a move. Unable to get enough draft, and it's going to be another lap behind that orange and black Ferrari of Randomly, the birthday boy, putting on a stupendous effort to try to keep this Olympus Mercedes behind them. But every single time they battle, you're looking at Denat closing behind to 1 second. This gap was almost 2 just a couple laps ago, but it doesn't matter, as it's going to be a 3-car battle for the lead. But now Zard looking to the inside, coming in. It looks like they try to take the move on Fane, but maybe a little bit of a wiggle, unable to make that move work as well. And jumping back all around, we have drivers attacking each other everywhere, right, left, and center, as we're running out of cameras to be able to even watch all of these cars go duke it out in this arena inside of the Netherlands beaches, North Coast, and just trying to bring it together. But Chloe falling back a little bit, perhaps just a small mistake, needing those tires to cool down a little bit, as every time you get close to the rear end of these GT3s, that air is going to be taken off of the wings of your car, going to be completely lifted off of the front end, and that's going to be absolutely ruining the front tires. So if you start overheating them, you might just need to back it off a little bit. Let things come back to you. We need to jump back to this group in the midfield. Once again, Zar again leading the attack on Fane here, but we have 5 cars all covered by 3 seconds, just trying to make this move work. As Zar, maybe you'd imagine team orders to come through here, but they're letting them race as they come through 11 and 12. Once again, trying to get the run down into 13. It looks like Zar able to get a better run, but 13 onto the main straight is where this is going to matter. Are they able to hold it tight using all the track as Zar? Now, are they close enough to bring this in? is going to the dirty air, pushing Zar way back on the main straight here. But is it too much to ask? It looks like the draft, not enough, but Zar taking half a look, maybe just trying to get Fane to move, but unable to make that work, as it's going to be Fane leading into turn 1, yet another lap. As Wolfen trying to charge in nice and tight, and we jump to the rear of this train. We see ZZ as well following Pablo nice and tight, only a couple tenths then separating them at the rear of this train. We can see any of these drivers at any moment. Take a look at ZZ, a little bit wide, going or a little bit too tight, kicking up the rear end on the curb, and that's going to be knocking them out of that group for now. But again, Zard 2 tenths back on Fame, surely showing that they have the pace, but they have nowhere to go. There's nowhere to find anywhere to put their car, and the gap just simply isn't there. Fane able to make their car look as wide as possible with what they have underneath them, and Zard just can't make it look. Is Wolfen trying to make a look underneath the rear end of that RK9 Aston Martin, trying to take a look. It looks like they lost a little bit of momentum with that move, but it's going to be the run into 11 that matters. Maybe not for them, but for Fane, as Zar again trying to take a look. It's going to be too little too late, and again, not much there, but Fane is going a little bit wide. Could we see a cutback coming in here? The over-under from Zar, no, sticking it around the outside, carrying that momentum as Fane once again leading into 13. Zar diving it hard under the brakes, trying to sweep through, and is this enough for Fane to hold the lead? Fane a little bit of momentum loss, and this could be exactly what Zar needed. As we head into 1, we're going to be drawing level. Who's the latest breaker of the RK9 cars? And it's going to be Fane on the outside, Zar on the inside. Fane leading in to the entry, but Zar holding it nice and tight, able to get the lead on the exit, but we head into the left, and that's going to favor Fane. The lead, the nose ahead, coming through tree. Oh no! The car's touch coming through too. It's Fane able to keep it together, and Zar able to get back on track. We're going to be holding positions. I don't think the stewards will look into that. There's just a little bit too much curb coming in from Zar. Good avoidance from Fane. And now Wolf and Foxley and Pablo just trying to fill it in, but we come back and looks like, wait, Chloe has taken the lead right now from Randomy. What happened to Randomy? It looks like they had an incident. They've dropped about 3 seconds back, and we have another car in the gravel immediately in front of them. That's going to be Hubble having a little bit of an excursion there, but we have big moments going around for everyone. Ooh, a little bit of damage for Hubble, maybe hindering the braking of that BMW. Unsure what caused a little bit of damage there, but that's certainly going to hurt them late into this race. The pit window not opening until the 20 minutes have elapsed, and then you have 20 minutes to pit. So 5 more minutes and we could see a pit come in from Chloe. But the drivers that aren't thinking about pitting, they're just thinking about that box in front of them. It's Wile E. Coyote chasing down Denak, 4/10 of a second, pushing between these drivers. And this traffic could be massive for Wiley. As Denak flashing the lights, just trying to look for a gap. Hubble letting them by a little bit off track, just letting them get through. But that's going to be a little bit of momentum killed for Denak. Wile E. Coyote 5/10 back, but unable to get the run coming out of 3. And just falling back just a tiny bit. We're going to take a look back. We have another battle coming in between the 2 Porsches of JPEG. Half a second separating them as they're trying to chase down ZZ up here. It looks like a little bit timid into the brakes, as it's going to be ZZ just pulling a little bit of a gap, but JPEG getting the run out of the corner, just trying to close things up a little bit. We follow through, tipping into turn 3. This is where the Porsche is really going to excel, but it's equal machinery here between the number 12 and the 18. Looks like ZZ able to squeeze the throttle a little bit better out and just open up that gap to JPEG. It's going to be another lap just waiting behind, but yet another lap waiting behind is going to be Pablo, who's been waiting, trying to just get past Wolf, and they've done it twice so far, but then Wolfen's been able to sneak back by, whether it be by small mistakes or otherwise. And again, Fane, the cork in the bottle here in P8, just trying to hang on to these higher level points, just trying to hold it through, as we see Wolfen going a little bit wide in the 10, just trying to push underneath the rear wing of that Bluey McLaren, but it's not to be at the moment. And Wolfen taking a little bit of a defensive look coming into 11, just trying to make sure Pablo doesn't send anything, and it's going to be a little bit closer for the Bluey McLaren to the front end of Pablo, trying to just make it through a little bit tight goes the P9 McLaren, but Pablo just trying to get that run out, and are they going to be able to get it? No, it looks like Wolfen able to carry the momentum through, perhaps a little bit more downforce on that machine, just able to carry them through the high-speed section of turn 13 just a little bit more. But Wile E. Coyote chasing down Denak, the pressure is mounting, coming through. 7 is going to be the battle for P2, and Wiley certainly pushing through, just trying to get anything past Denak. The pace is there as they are just pushing them through. Oh, a little bit of curve. The Lamborghini taking a little bit too much. Looks like bottoming out, pushing them wide as we look randomly. I think getting now pressured by Jasper. Is there potentially damage on the front end of this Ferrari? Yes, big damage on the front end of that Ferrari. Not the birthday present that the mechanics wanted from Randomy, but right now this is just what you need to deal with. 2 more minutes to bring it back. It's going to be 2 more laps to go till you can bring this into the pits and repair it. So Randomy needs to just struggle through this as Jasper is mounting the pressure onto the rear end of that Tig Gang car, that Tig Gang Ferrari number 73, trying to just run away. That gap is just closing inch by inch as Jasper's trying to squeeze it a little bit closer. And we're going to see that Ferrari struggle down the straight, struggle with the downforces. Oh, the dirty air is also pushing Jasper way wide. Big moment for both the drivers, dealing with tons of understeer coming through. And could we see him move into 1? No, a little too late. As Randomy's going to survive that lift coming through. And it's going to have to jump back because Pablo now chasing down Fane onto the main straight. With that Aston Martin stretching its legs against the McLaren. McLaren is gaining, but is it enough? It's going to be a dive from Pablo coming in, and a little bit of contact, and Pablo's around. Arcade, oh, the Aston Martin of Fane taking the impact onto the inside of 1. And Slowbird's going to be able to sneak through, and once again, Wolfen making a move to get back in front, and Pablo once again have to make that move. Wolfen back on into the grass. The Porsche is just trying to find a way through, just trying to take evasive action as Wolfen immediately concedes that position back to Pablo, and now Slowbird up a ton of positions, and now the driver to try to target on Slowbird, or on Fane, as we see a battle coming in from Jasper, trying to get in front of Randomy, tap on the rear, able to straighten it back out. The 2 drivers able to keep it going. Looks like Randomy's going to concede that position. And coming into 11, it's going to be the McLaren leading the Ferrari for P5. Now it's a little bit wide, a little bit of a squirm coming in to 12. And it's going to be Jasper leading this group into 12 and 13 as the pit window is now going to start opening up for our other drivers. Chloe leading as we start to enter our pit cycle, followed back down by Denak. Wile E. Coyote chasing down the Ferrari, followed by Geeg in the Aston Martin. Jasper, as we just saw that overtake coming through on Randomy, who has been struggling with some front end damage, who is also now dropped to P6. Zara is going to be following through in P7, followed by their teammate Fane, who has been fending for their life, making that Aston Martin as wide as possible in P8, followed by the old but gold Jaguar in P9, piloted by Slowbird. The 89 machine absolutely flying up the field. Remember, they started in last place, and then they have already rocketed up to P9, pressure in P8, and finally in CZZ in P10, who we saw just barely avoiding Wolfen coming back into track there in turn 3 as they went wide, and able to get things rolling and wrap up that top 10 position. But gonna be a first round of pit stops. So we see Pablo and a little bit of damage coming in from Jinfo, but also the Bluey McLaren of Wolfen all pitting. So we could see this battle between the 2 McLarens continue to rage on and carry through. We also see, I believe that his telephone's coming into the pit for their mandatory stop. And just a reminder, as you come through, the pit stop is a mandatory fuel stop. You could need to at least fuel 1 liter and tire change. So many of these drivers are going to be short fueling and just fueling as much fuel as they can get in at the pit phase, trying to just make it so that way you don't lose any time in the pit stops, and you're carrying as little fuel on the car as long as possible. But another battle. You're jumping back to the battle between Wile E. Coyote and Denak. It feels like they have been fighting for as long as possible. From lap 1, Wile E. Coyote's been pushing Denak on, and it looks like Denak's tires might be starting to fade a little bit. That Ferrari, though, normally known for taking care of its tires, but Denak wiggling a little bit, coming into his 8, coming through 9, struggling with a little bit of understeer. So the balance of that Ferrari maybe feeling like it's a little bit all over the place. They roll through 10, and it just looks like that Lamborghini has so much more compliance for Wiley as they just try to roll onto the back end of the Tick Gang championship leader. And certainly, you'd have to imagine this is going to be a matter of time before Denak's not able to hold on anymore. But we've already seen the mistakes come out from several drivers, and another driver that we have battling through is again Slowbird, the Jag, coming through and still pushing Fane around the track, the gap closing up to just 1-2 tenths here and there, spreading back out as the track seems to ebb and flow. That Jaguar extremely strong in a straight line, so we really need to keep bouncing back and forth depending where we're at on track. Wiley trying to make a move around the outside as Denak defends the inside that short line, making use of that defensive momentum that Denak is going to have to carry. But it looks like it's going to be that first sector is the Ferrari sector. The Lamborghini really struggling to get up, but then as we start to open things up, the Lambo just gets the run onto this back straight as a little bit of curb coming in from that Lamborghini of Wiley, just able to kick it through though. And look at that straight in, the mid-range power of the Lamborghini is just absolutely undeniable right now, and Denak is putting on a monster of a job just to try to keep them behind. As we see, just look at every single time that Ferrari just trying to tip it in, just losing a little bit on entry, and again that Lamborghini just able to roll it through, just carry the speed through a little bit better, but great traction from Denak, able to get the run out and put a gap between them and Wile E. Coyote. But again, the mid-range power of that Lamborghini just every single time walking them back into play. Denak really needs to make sure that they carry the momentum here. A single mistake could spell danger for this P2, and maybe we might even see an undercut coming in from Wiley, because this is going to be costing him a lot of time. But Denak a little bit wide as we roll onto the back straight, coming through 13, and is this going to be the battle? Denak trying to take to the inside, but around the outside, it's going to be Wiley carrying that momentum into 1. They have a nose ahead, trying to squeeze Denak and contact. Denak's going around, able to keep it together. Another secondary contact. Is it going to be Wiley able to get it back around the outside? Both cars straight as they drive down into turn 2 and keep it ahead into 3, and it's going to be the pressure finally getting to Denak as Wiley's able to get it around the outside. A little bit of contact, push and shove, but I think the stewards will let them race on that. It is going to be a physical move, but Wiley now eyes set forward hard on the Chloe. An important thing here though, Chloe with a best of a 1 minute 36.6. Wiley with a best of a 1 minute 36.9, but they spent that entire race so far trapped behind Denak, who has only had a 1 minute 36.7 at their best, so likely holding up Wiley. So now we're going to see the true pace of that Lamborghini just try to stretch its legs just a little bit more, but damage picked up from that little bit of a kerfuffle is going to be really holding them back right now. So we're going to have to keep an eye on their pace throughout the rest of this stint. But Denak trying to look for some kind of rebuttal. That Ferrari really strong in the dirty air right now. Maybe Denak just needing a little bit of a lead to follow, pulling right up to the rear wing of that Lamborghini, as they're going to be seeing Denak just tucking in a little bit wide for Wiley, and this could be what Denak needed to get back in front, and the battle is back on as Denak's able to carry the momentum, but a lift on the tight line. Is the Lamborghini going to be able to get the run? It looks like Wiley opting to go for the pits. The damage a little bit too much for them, so they're going to try to reset and bring it back in the second half of this race. Denak able to return that, or get back into that position as we look back ahead to Fane, who's just fighting for their life to hold on to P6 right now, which I believe is going to be the P8 position. And once these pit cycles have sorted themselves out, as I believe Czar and Randomy both lost position to Fane and Slowbird here. So this is going to be effective P8 right now. Is Fane a little bit wide, and it's going to be old versus new. The British battle is on, and it looks like Fane may be signaling to come into the pit, struggling with the front end of that Aston just a little bit too much, as it's going to be, yes, Fane into the pits. Slowbird finally released, chased down by ZZ in that Munich, or the Stuttgart manufactured Porsche, just trying to hang on to the coattails of the Jag as we speed on through. And Fane, yep, is coming into the pits as we watch Astro or Wile E. Coyote roll out. But another battle down the order. Telephones chasing down Hubble, 0.2 of a second. The Porsche, not the strongest in a straight line, but neither is the BMW. So this is going to be the battle of the late breakers. Who's going to be able to send it? Is Telephone's going to take a look? No, a little bit earlier on the brakes, but Hubble could be deep here. Oh, Hubble putting it together quite well as we roll through. A little bit wide for Telephones, just trying to make things work, but it doesn't look like we're able to carry it through. Now it's going to be the Porsche sector, just trying to bring it back through the end of Sector 1, through the middle of Sector 2, get the drive out, but it looks like a little bit better traction for Hubble, able to just walk away just a little bit more. We jump in. It looks like Geek has also now come in following Denak, so we're going to see a battle in the pits here, making sure that all these drivers as well, if you got to hit your pit box, this is going to be a 3-4 seconds. If you missed your pit box and have to get dragged back, that's a lot of time. Looks like the driver's able to hit their marks as Telephones has now climbed back in to Hubble, just able to bring it in. Hubble a little bit wide, and is that going to be a position gain? Yes, Telephones able to take advantage as they aren't able to carry that momentum through after taking to the grass. Hubble going to be kicking themselves for that mistake, a small mistake but costly one here at Zandvoort, where the pressure is just mounting on everyone. And it's going to be mountains just coming out of molehills. And normally you can look in your rearview mirror and say, yeah, I can worry about that a little bit later. But when you have a train of cars from several other manufacturers just trying to put any kind of pressure on you that they can, it's going to be night and day from when you just have one car putting on a little bit of pressure. But we see Fane and Pablo both completed their pits. Remember, effective P8 here that we're looking at, as it looked like Pablo is getting a snap of oversteer coming in to 10, or the exit of 10, with a good braking into 11, maybe a little bit wide in 12, as we see Fane just starting to pull away just a little bit more. Yep, it's going to be very close. But Wile E. Coyote has fallen behind Geeg. Geeg has sniped the position from Wile E. Coyote, and Denak as well, both able to take position. So Wiley has all of it to work for once again after so much work fighting with Denak and Geeg. The damaged repairs have now sent them behind the Aston Martin as well as the Ferrari. This is going to be massive implications if Denak's able to walk away, because the gap has opened up between Denak and Geeg to 12 seconds. Denak is coming through the turn 12 complex as they are still on the run. Down to it is Geeg and Wiley. So this is a lot of time that they need to make up, but perhaps Denak opting not to repair the damage, as this has been a track that has shown it's extremely hard to overtake. None of the drivers have been able to make any move that hasn't been on a nice edge so far. So we're going to see the pressure mounting. The jack of all trades in that Aston Martin, no weakness, followed by that mid-range power and the mid-corner speed of the Lamborghini, just weaving to get rid of a little bit of that draft. Wile E. Coyote just trying to pull in his Geeg's a little bit deep. Wiley trying to get a nose underneath, but it's a little bit too far away, unable to make the move work, and it's going to be sitting behind now for another straight as we get through 2, tipping it into 3, the cambered section of the track. As we see now, Slowbird has also come in for a pit as well. So the question is, when is Chloe and Jasper going to pit? Those are going to be the 2 drivers that we're going to be watching with intense eyes, because they could be benefiting massively from all this battling down the field. He, with that James Bond liveried Aston Martin, just trying to hold position. 007 is going to be pulling out all of the party tricks, whether it be the spy glasses or the traps in the shoes. They need to bring everything out, because we saw Wiley take advantage of Denak's pace and absolutely push them everywhere through this track. So it's going to be an intense defense that Geek's going to have to put up to try to withstand what's coming in from Wiley. But the Porsches backed up to each other once again as we see JPEG down into 2, now tipping it into 3. Ignore that rear wing as it's not for me because it is going to be the run down. It looks like JPEG able to get a slightly better run, but there's not going to be a look to the inside of 7, I don't believe, as ZZ just leading it through. JPEG taking a look, but not there. Just needing to settle in a little bit more. ZZ just hammering it down, trying to keep every little bit of the car in front as they can, as it appears Jasper now coming into the pits. Yes, they've settled down for their pit stop, as we have to jump back in with the battle between the Porsches. Maybe a little bit wide coming through from ZZ, as JPEG looking for anything that they can grasp on to just try to make it through. Maybe a little bit of a better run, but ZZ taking to the inside. They're trying to make this run stick. The Porsches both strong on the brakes. Who's the latest of the late breakers? Looks like ZZ able to just get it a little bit further in front and hang on to 11 and just keep it going and to survive another lap. But another thing we need to take a look at, it looks like Wiley has able to sneak past Geek. Was this a mistake or was this a move? We're going to take a look. Maybe this didn't work. Might have not caught it here. But I believe this might have been coming into the first sector. We might need to take another look back as we roll through, coming and watching this battle between Wiley and Geek. It looks like Geek maybe a little bit deep into the brakes. No. Trying to keep it through. We'll take one more look back at this and continue this through, and it looks like 2 into 3, all a little bit wide from Geek. The pressure getting to them, and they were just trying to recover. A lot of time lost from that James Bond livery McLaren. That's certainly going to be one that they're kicking themselves over, because that could have been a podium that they were fighting for. But eyes have shifted forward for Wiley. 14 seconds now, the gap to try to catch Denak, but not 14 seconds, but 0.4 for JPEG. Just trying to chase down ZZ, as ZZ just trying to hang on to everything that they got here. The black and gold liveried Porsche just trying to keep it through. JPEG trying to open things up a little bit more. Maybe a dive into 10. The look was there, but not able to try to get it through. As we start to get the power down, JPEG with the momentum, but unable to take that inside line without getting pushed to the marbles. And it's going to be, again, latest of the late breakers. ZZ able to hang it through. But is it going to be JPEG trying to get the cutback, the run to turn 13? A little bit of curbs for both the Porsches. Able to hang it through. It looks like JPEG might be able to get a nose. No. ZZ able to hang it around, but a little bit too deep. And it's going to be JPEG through. JPEG is through, coming into turn 13. And it looks like our cameras are doing a weird. They're broken. The cameras are broken. They can't believe what they've seen. JPEG has broken the cameras. And it looks like we're going to be after following through. ZZ just trying to recover a little bit of time. But once again, now coming back through. Fane, the cork in the bottle. Just trying to get this P8 secured, as Pablo, as actually no, Fane is now dropped officially to P9. Because almost all of her pit cycle has run its course. Only 4 minutes left, by the way, so drivers like Hubble need to be getting in soon, as it looks like we may have lost whooping through the race. Ooh, a big snap of oversteer for Pablo, able to recover it, but it looks like a little bit of time lost for Fane. But those tires on that McLaren just trying to get, oh, they're just trying to get some kind of traction. That McLaren is screaming. It is absolutely just screaming, trying to get anything working with. But I think now as the race starts to settle down a little bit, we'll follow through Pablo's and Fane's battle, as we're going to take a look at the stewards report coming through the rest of the race. So, our stewards announcements coming through here. Let me just take a look and get these up. It looks like we had just a warning issued to car number 512 due to an unsafe rejoin, as well as a warning to the 310 of Neo. We don't believe we caught that incident, so we aren't going to be able to go back and check that. But nothing else so far issued from the students, or the stewards, stewards, you know. little bit of both. So it's going to be nothing from those two, as well as actually a racing incident noted between the 21 and the 7, which is Geeg and Chloe from earlier on in the race. But it looks like Fane might be getting held up a little bit as the momentum is going to be coming in from the McLaren. It looks like Hubble may be costing a little bit of speed from the British machine. Could it be a look into 7, a little bit of lift, and a little bit wide goes the Aston Martin. Is Fane able to recover? No, it's going to be off into the gravel. And the defense that Fane had been putting up for so long absolutely killed as they come into 7 a little bit deep. Hubble taking a little bit wide line just to allow Fane to get through. But Fane finally, their valiant defense falling foul as they are unable to get things held for much longer. The pressure and the back marker finally getting to them, and they have now dropped to P10. Oh my, oh my. Finally I have a breather. Finally I can breathe, as this race has been going 38 minutes non-stop action, as we now see these strategies are going to start to play out. We have a couple of gaps. The battle between Fane and Pablo still our closest one so far at 1.9 seconds. We have a battle between Jasper and Zard that might close up a little bit more here as well, around 2.5. Those are our closest gaps to take a look at. So we're going to actually jump back over to Jasper here, as Jasper coming through, I believe passing EO, trying to get through, as they're going to be cycling through as well, and Zard just trying to continue that run up. Currently best lap for Zard, 0.3 faster than Jasper here. So we're going to be looking just a small pace, just chipping away between the two drivers, just trying to bring it closer and closer. And that's exactly what Zard is doing every single lap, to just get a little bit closer, just trying to bring it in. As we see the gap, Neo is the next car ahead of Zard, going to be giving a little bit of draft and likely pulling out of the way, but the gap has already dropped to 2 seconds. It was 2.5 at the start of this lap, so Zard is on a charge, just trying to take that RK9 and Claude is far up the field after that earlier incident that we had, dropping them back to the back when they came through turn 7 on lap 1, costing them massively. You see Chloe is also on a flyer, as we have not mentioned them, because they have absolutely run away with this race. They're 14 seconds ahead of the next driver, Denak, our championship leader, who looks poised to possibly take a commanding role. Unsure of the exact mass of this will win them the championship with 1 round to go, but I believe with drop rounds considered, they will still have another that they're gonna have to bring in, as we had another car return to the pits. I believe Hubble having a moment, possibly just a little bit too much damage. Yes, a little bit of snap oversteers. They came in, I believe, just too much for that car, and they ended up pulling it to the pits. So jump back with Chloe, who has now set the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 36 of a 1 minute 36.3. Words, boy oh boy, they are hard. But Hubble returning to the pits, possibly retiring that car after that moment in turn 10, and I believe just possibly taking too much damage, and the pit window has now closed. They have officially missed that. I'm not sure actually if the sim will register if you enter the pits by returning the pits before the timer ends or not. Oh boy. So as we take a ride along actually now with Chloe, another 0.3 up on their lap, but a little bit wide, coming through 9, might have cost a little bit of speed, but Chloe is absolutely on fire right now, unstoppable for anyone right now. I mean, they have 0.4 a lap faster on everyone else, and they have commanded this race in Zandvoort. The Mercedes, maybe not the best car here with that front engine and a lot of low speed rotation, but they have made it work a treat. Made it work beautifully as we take a run back down onto the final straight, and once again Chloe setting another faster lap, We're going to be a small improvement of another 600ths of a second, or 1 minute 36.3 coming in from the Olympus driver. They're going faster and faster every lap. It's hard to even argue with what their pace is right now because there's no one that can challenge it. Certainly, they've just been commanding every single lap of the way. But Zara trying to command this lead that Jasper has into their favor. As we now actually have quite a few penalties coming through. This might kick this race back up. I will wait until the stewards reports to come through, and I will feed those back to everyone. But right now we're sitting, and we have 5 seconds on Wile E. Coyote, 30 for JPEG, and a drive-through on Wolfen, who I believe retired the car, so not going to affect them in the grand scheme of things. But still going to be a bit of a kick. Actually, no, Wolfen has come back out. And they're serving their drive-thru right now, it appears. Yeah, so 4 laps down, but they're serving their drive-thru. Maybe just trying to get a couple positions back. I'm not too sure how their race is unfolded to pause this one. Again, once the stewards reports come through, I will make everyone aware of what is going on. It looks like Bane back on the tail of Pablo. Maybe a little bit of mistake filming from Pablo. So this is our battle on track, our closest battle on track at 0.7 seconds. It looks like Bane might be able to get something back. That McLaren was struggling late in the stint as Bane was able to keep their pace. So this could be big coming for the RK9 second driver. We're gonna take a look here and all through. I'm not seeing anything yet for our stewards reports. Then I will keep you posted once our stewards hand the notebook up to us. But once again, Bane charging on that McLaren. 0.5 is the gap as we roll through here. Bane just trying to pull this in just a little bit closer, but the front end refusing to comply as we run through 7. Is JPEG. JPEG's had a moment, and that's a lot of damage on that car. What happened to JPEG here? So this is coming through the S's section, and it looks like, oh, just a little bit wide on the grass. No. And that's going to be a massive hamper on the JPEG's race, who just served a massive penalty. And oh, that grass, no, they haven't even served the penalty. And oh, that Porsche is not happy. Just the grass carrying them out wide and absolutely destroying the front of the Porsche. Oh my, oh my. The last thing you want to see, and through the highest speed section of the track, nothing you can do to recover that the moment you come out. But as you roll through, Chloe once again going even faster. A 1 minute 35 might be on the cards for them. As you roll through, just again another small improvement, but a 1 minute 36.32, another fastest lap of the race, as now Fane has pulled out of the way, allowed them through, possibly waiting to make a move once they make a jump on to Pablo. Gonna be a little bit of grass kicked up as Pablo a little bit wide. This could be exactly what Fane needs. Just try to tuck in close that Mercedes AMG and just roll through. As soon as Pablo pulls over, it's going to be time to strike for Fane. We could see a massive move coming through. Sounds like maybe a little bit of dust kicked up. Be a little bit of a wide moment. Yeah, Ruby a little bit of damage. A little bit inside. Backing up Pablo here. Pablo is going to be losing a bit of time, letting Chloe through as well. This could be the momentum that Fane needs, but Fane's a little bit wide as well. Maybe a little bit of oil, slippery surface flags need to fly, as many of these drivers losing traction. Ruby just letting the other two come by as Pablo and Fane now resume their battle. P9. But that was Fane's time to strike, and a little bit wide, and that's going to cost them massively in the grand scheme of this battle, because that was their time. They were going to get walked back to Pablo, and Pablo was going to have to kill their momentum to let Chloe by. No notes yet from our stewards, so we continue to wait for those. We're actually going to jump in. We have another driver, Geek, now charging onto Wile E. Coyote with 3 seconds back. 007 Aston Martin has been strong all race. And it looks like coming in later into this race, we're going to be seeing them gaining on Wile E. Coyote. The gap has now shrunk to 2.5 seconds. Remember, after they went a little bit wide, they dropped to several seconds back. And this is going to be Wile E. peering into the rearview mirrors. It's 20 seconds ahead. So this is just the defensive battle. This is the battle for P3. But Geek, fastest lap of their race so far as they run down the main straight. Gonna be charging on Wile E. As Wiley's pit. Wile has pit. I believe possible damage for Wile. Or no, sorry, Wiley's serving that 5-second penalty, but they don't need to do that in the race. If you don't serve the penalty, it is just a post-race penalty of an equal amount of time. So Wile possibly taking a little bit too much. And ooh, this might be massive because this could mean Wile could drop well out of the top 5 and seriously hamper the amount of points that they're coming in. But Geek now promoted to P3, and they're setting another flyer as they roll out to another fast lap, 0.2 faster than their fastest lap so far. They're just charging. This is all for bragging rights now, as currently Geek's 23 seconds behind Denak, but I don't think they care. They're playing their own race to absolutely fly. You see Slowbird also improving lap by lap, and that pace is just picking up. All these front engine cars really seem to come into their own element as this track is rubbered in to a high rubber state and really been able to allow these cars to rotate through the corner and use all that weight on the front end and not overdo it. We rolled through. Jasper has also moved up to P4 with that Wile E. Coyote pit. Zara down or up into P5. Randomy to 6. Slowbird moving up to 7th as Wile. We're still waiting to see if they come back out. Maybe not. Maybe we're not going to see a return of the Lamborghini here. Possibly just parked it for the rest of the race, but I'm not too sure. It looks like, unless there's severe damage, I can't see any reason why that Lamborghini hasn't come back out of the pits yet. But that's going to be massive for their championship position by the end of this season, because they were running up in P2 and P3 for the majority of this race. I'm actually quite confused as it appears we have a car off earlier in the lap. Ooh, big moment for Jinfoth. Just must have been going a little bit wide coming into the earlier section of the track. They're coming through 8 and 9. We take another look at that one more time as we come through 7, setting up into 8. I believe we're going to see maybe a little bit of grass or just some snap oversteer. Oh, quite the opposite. The curb just pushing them wide, and that's where we came on board with the replay last time around. Is actually going to be very well recovered by Jin to not get that spun around with the contact with the barrier. Well played by them. But Chloe, again, just running away with this race, setting almost fastest lap after fastest lap as they've just improved every single, not just every single lap of this race, but every single race of the season as we saw them come in and had good pace coming into the championship opener in Hungaroring. You know, we saw them falter a little bit in the middle rounds, but still strong pace. In Silverstone, they really struggled. But coming here to Zandvoort, they have come into a class of their own. Even if Denak was up in second place, I just think this was the race for Chloe to win. They just need to really bring it home as we see JPEG coming in, serve probably too much damage on that Porsche. I believe they're going to just take the repairs and the penalty for right now and recover what they can. And it is worth noting that the safety cars still can come out. So while they are coming in here losing a lot of time, we could still see this race turn on its head. Car stopped on track in the wrong place. This could really open things up very late in the race. But JPEG just trying to bring that car in, just recover what they can of damage. But these are, once again, just trying to chase down Jasper. This is, again, our closest race on track. Oh, but we have, I think, oh no, my timing screw's just playing tricks on us with JPEG in the pits. We had a battle with telephones up front. Yes, our closest battle right now is Bizarre, who's chasing down Jasper. 4 seconds adrift, but then Jasper 4.5 seconds adrift in the podium battle. So a small mistake from Geek backing this up could mean in the final 8 laps of this race, we're going to have a shootout for those podium positions. We're going to be rolling through here, yep. Are just trying to get what time that they can. Looks like the caps aren't moving too much. But we're going to be seeing... Jump back on. Let's see who we have also missed out on here. Drivers that we haven't talked about too much. We'll go back to Wolfen, who's actually on the tail of Bane. Who we were talking about for the majority of this race. These drivers were actually duking it out earlier, but now laps separating the 2 drivers here. I believe a 5-lap gap between, or sorry, a 4-lap gap between the 2. The Wolfen just really driving for the bragging rights here, trying to recover anything from retirements, and so on. But just trying to get what they can out of this race. It looks like we have also, yes, officially lost Wile E. Coyote or Astro from this race. So unfortunate to lose them, but I believe maybe a little bit of damage taking them out and unable to return to points paying position. So they decided to roll it into the garage. But also Hubble coming through, setting their fastest lap of the race of a 1:41.7. So starting to pick up some really good pace throughout the latter part of this race, and as they're just trying to fall through some of the other cars, we see Chloe in the foreground there just make a run through turn 3. Also a driver that started to improve quite a bit over the season, as we've seen Hubble start off. I believe their first race was in Catalunya, or maybe it was at the start of the season. They've improved quite a bit coming in, having not really done much racing before, quite seriously, and now they're starting to pressure the back end of the AM Champ grid, just starting to make a bit of a splash with some of these drivers. So really look forward to what they can do later on in the season and future seasons, as well as we start to roll into our future season, which, speaking of our future championships, ooh, a little bit wide for a Hubble at the front of that BMW, very much not working with them. But speaking of our future championships, the iRacing Championship has recently been announced. If you guys have not already shown your interest to that, or you would be interested in that, please go to find our Discord link in the description below. There is an interest form currently in the announcements page. All you need to do is verify yourself in the Discord. And once you hop in, you can take your vote on shaping our new iRacing Championship. We currently have everything up for grabs, from open wheelers in Formula 4 to GT3 and 4 prototypes, supercars, stock cars, and even down to Jetta and Mazdas that you can vote for, as well as the type of race format that we are racing for, as we'll be moving on with that hopefully in the near future. But if you have not already done so, please go ahead and take a vote on that, and we would be more than happy to see you in that championship in the near future. As we see, ooh, maybe an incident coming through here. Oh, that looks like a big one for Ruby. Oh, just coming over the crest as the rear gets light. Oh, and a damaged McLaren gets even more scrapped, as that is going to the junkyard after this race. That front end of that McLaren certainly whining for this race to be over, as we tip over into the final 5 minutes of this race. And actually, an important thing to note here, Geek, 15-second penalty. The gap behind them, 5 seconds. Jasper is currently in range to get promoted to P3, as well as Czar, currently sitting 8.5 seconds back, trying to just file things in. We have another incident, looks like, oh, telephones as well. Oh, same as Ruby, just a little bit wide, then light over the hill, and oh my, that's going to be very painful. Telephone staying out of the way, though, just making sure that they don't collect anyone else. Yes, we see a couple other cars roll by. Like they found a gap and are going to be rolling it out. But we're currently on a race on track, as Jasper is en route to get a P3 here if they're just able to hold things together. 4 minutes to go. Just a couple laps remain. This is going to be a possible podium if Jasper can just hold it together. Unless Czar is able to get up here and pull this away from Jasper, this is their race to lose, because there's no way in 3.5 minutes that Geek's going to be able to pull the 10-second gap required. It looks like our stewards will not be posting those notes during the race. Looks like there was too many incidents for them to cover. We're going to just be getting those post-race. Again, same as our iRacing Championship. You can view those in our Discord in the AmChamp Steward channel. If you have not already joined our Discord, please go ahead and do so. The link is down in the description. We'd be more than happy to have you and make sure that you feel right at home in this racing community. But laps are ticking down. 1 minute 36 to go. This is going to be, I believe, 2 or 3 laps to go, depending when Chloe crosses the line. And this is going to be nail-biting, because Zars is also looking for a P4 promotion. If they can get close enough and just sneak themselves back and maybe recover some of the points from that early mistake. Remember, we started, well, Zar started P3. We're up to back of the grid, I believe P17 or something like that. Actually, no, sorry, it was P14. And then run all the ways back up to P5 on pace and pace alone here. So this is going to be massive. Zara is going to be able to get back to where they qualified from, even if it's just one position behind. But this is exactly what Zara was looking for, to try to recover what points they can. But is it going to be enough? As Denak, our championship leader, who we've not talked about much this race, to be coming home in P2, and that might make their gap in the championship, at least without drops, unassailable. But is it going to make it with drops? Again, I do not have the math in the spreadsheet for that right now, but this could be your champion by the end of this race, or stepping into next race, assuming they start. This is going to be a very, very tight run indeed, but Denak just need to also bring it home, same as we've heard with Jasper, just to bring it together. But a close gap actually is Hubble a little bit wide, and we're chasing down JPEG as rather close. Actually, my timing window once again playing tricks on me. It says Hubble is only 2 seconds behind JPEG, but we can see quite the opposite is true, as obviously JPEG is way down the... Actually, no, sorry. It was chasing down Wolfen. It just corrected itself, as Wolfen has actually moved up into P15 and has been able to recover a position in this race. Very good for the Bluey driver, trying to recover after a race that they would certainly want to forget with all the things that have come through here. A couple more things. We believe they've had that drive-through for quite a while, so that will turn into, I believe, a 30-second penalty, as they're going to be rolling and allowing them. Here we go. Yes, the final lap for Chloe has come to fruition. And what a lap it is going to be for you guys. This is a lap that's certainly going to have a lot of emotion behind it. Chloe has been battling with ACC, just trying to get to grips with it. Chloe, one of our iRacers, coming over, just trying to learn the sim and take part in our AM championship. But I think it goes without saying that they're starting to get comfortable here in the ACC league as we tip it through turn 7 one final time, just strolling through and trying to keep the car under control. And Chloe lapping almost the entire field at this point. I believe we have lapped all the ways up to P6, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe, no, everyone up to P7 has been lapped by Chloe. Just was the pace of this Mercedes-Benz, just absolutely hauling through the track. One final time into the hard braking zone of 11. Tip it in over the curb into 12. Switch it back, as Chloe is going to be just trying to set it up in the last real corner of the track. Chloe just needs to navigate 13, and it's just going to be smooth sailing from here, as Chloe's just trying to bring it home through 13. The straight has come, and it could not come soon enough, as Chloe has dominated this race to bring home the win at Zandvoort for their first AM Champ win of the season. And certainly one that you cannot deny they deserved. Absolutely unassailable pace from them, as we see Denak now just trying to come home 25 seconds adrift of Chloe. Did the best that they could, but brought home as many points as they could. Believe their 4th podium of the season. That's going to be massive for them. Yes, 4th podium, including 2 of their wins. So it's going to be a massive point haul as Denak remains extremely strong on their championship charge here. Geek trying to ring this home. And wow, they're going to bring it home on 3rd on the road. This is not going to be 3rd in the standings with that 15-second penalty. As 5 seconds back, we see Jasper, who's going to bring home the Bluey McLaren and going to, after penalties, take home P3 in Zandvoort, getting promoted up, as well as Zar, who is going to see... Zar run out of fuel! Zar's run out of fuel! No, Zara has run out of fuel at the end of the race. Randomly late race drama. Nigel Mansell at Canada moment. Randomly has moved up into P5, and Gig's going to hold P3. Zara has run out of fuel on the last lap, the second to last corner, and they have been unable. They teleported to the pits. They have completely run dry in the final section of the race. Zara cannot finish this race, and they had to teleport to the pits. Chloe has finished their victory lap, and Zara has run out. I believe with how we're going to be promoting through, Zara's going to move down into P6. Or P5 after their lap completes from the pits. Or P6, sorry. Zara ran out of fuel on the last corner of the last lap, as Chloe rightfully celebrates a dominant win. But my oh my, that just tells you never quit till it's over. Because it is never over till it's over. Oh my God. I am speechless. I have no words. As a great Jimmy Broadbent would say, never give up. And Randomly, even with all that damage, never gave up, kept pushing. And Zar, unfortunately, to their demise, conceded that position to Randomly in the most unfortunate of circumstances. But that might be just enough to keep Randomly in the championship battle for against Denak here. Oh my lord. I have no idea on how to close that. I don't know what to say, but okay. Well, thank you everyone for that has come out and watched this race. My name has been Jordan, or Plasma, whichever you prefer. And this has been the Simufur GT3 AM Championship broadcast. If you've not already done so, please go follow our socials on Twitter and down below. And as well as follow us, join us on Discord as well. Both links in the description below. We'd love to have you come join our new championship or compete in the last round of AM Champ or the future AM Champs to come. But that has been us at Simufur. Appreciate everyone coming out. Thank you for your time. And we'll see you all in the next one.